Good morning. Welcome to Second Unitarian Church. I'm Sue Burke, a member of the church's Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. Today, we're continuing to meet virtually using Zoom and in person at the Admiral and the 2U Sanctuary. We ask everyone's indulgence this morning for the complications of a three-part event, and however you're here, we're glad to see you. In Zoom, you'll notice that there's a chat feed for your interactions, and you're welcome to use this to say hello to one another and to share your joys and concerns when we reach that time in the service. When we would traditionally sing together and read things in unison, you're encouraged to do so as well, even though you're either masked or on mute. Our voices echo through the world, and we'll hear one another if we listen closely or sing with our full spirit. We're paying close attention to COVID recommendations. That could mean that even these first steps at being together could stop at any time, but for now, we recognize that maintaining physical distance, even while masked, is an act of love and protection. We especially welcome newcomers this morning. During this time of pandemic, finding a new community and making new connections can be challenging. Please know that we're excited to have you and look forward to getting to know you. If you're new to us today, you're welcome to note that in our chat or by raising your hand now if you're comfortable doing so. Our worship today is led by Reverend Derek Jackson. The Reverend Derek Jackson, him, is the Director of Ministries for Lifelong Learning of the UU Ministers Association and an affiliated community minister with Second Unitarian Church of Chicago. He is one of the authors in the book, Centering, Navigating Race, Authenticity, and Power in Ministry. Reverend Derek is active in DRUM, the UU Ministry for People of Color, and he's the treasurer of Healing Moments, a ministry for caregivers of people with Alzheimer's. He is also co-director of the Chicago Playback Theater Ensemble and is an avid knitter. Reverend Derek and his husband, Reverend James Olson, live with their two cats, Merlin and Morgana. Our time together is also supported by worship associate Janice Stashwick. Our chalice lighter is Joy. Our music is provided by our music director, Carl Kennedy, and by Devon Sandridge and Reverend Derek. Our tech team members are Director Christy Grant, supported by Dan Ashley, Harris McKee, Megan Dunning, and David Martin. Our Admiral at the Lake usher is Janice Stashwick, and our sanctuary ushers are Christina Romero, Rama Kumanduri, and Maureen King. And I have an announcement for you this morning. This year's Fall Fest will be held on the evening of November 13th, and it will be a fun and exciting event for us all. The current plan is for Zoom and in-person options. We're looking for volunteers to help organize, and we need auction items. More news is coming, but meanwhile, contact Kate in the office if you'd like to get more involved as a volunteer or to donate auction items. We're trying one more step to make our service more accessible by using closed captions on Zoom. If you don't see captions on your screen and would like to turn the subtitles on, please click Live Transcripts, then select Show Subtitles. If you see captions and would prefer not to see them, please select the Live Transcript option and select Hide Subtitles. You can find more information and additional announcements in your order of service. I now welcome Janice Stashwick to lead our call to worship.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our words today come from a poem by Mary Oliver called Morning Poem. Every morning, the world is created under the orange sticks of the sun. The heaped ashes of the night turn into leaves again and fasten themselves to the high branches, and the ponds appear like black cloth on which are painted the islands of summer lilies. If it is your nature to be happy, you will swim away along the soft trails for hours, your imagination alighting everywhere. And if your spirit carries within the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep on trudging, there is still somewhere deep within you a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted. Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning, whether or not you dared to be happy, whether or not you dared to pray. I invite you, as you feel ready, to take a breath in and out. And as the music begins, let us enter into our service together.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What you'll see will defy fascination. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want, do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Looking there, you will see, if you truly wish to be.
In just a moment, Joy will light our chalice, the symbol of our faith. We light our chalice this morning with these words from the play 6 Degrees of Separation by John Guare. I believe that the imagination is a passport that we create to help take us into the real world. I believe that the imagination is merely another phrase for what is most uniquely us. The imagination is not our escape. On the contrary, the imagination is the place we are all trying to get to. Joy, would you light our chalice, please?
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Please join me in reciting our covenant. The words are on your screen and in your orders of service. We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, holding faithful to a love that embraces both diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a vision of the eternal, living out our inner convictions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
Psalm 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Speak in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Wounds hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. It is now time for our story for all ages. So those of you at home, if there's any kiddos around, now's a good time to ask them to join you. Today, we're going to be hearing a lot about imagination. So we have a story called We Became Jaguars, about a little boy and how his grandmother taught him a lot about imagination. My grandmother came to visit. I had met her once before. She lived very far away. Her hair was very white and very, very long. My parents went out and left us alone. My grandmother got on the carpet and growled. Let's be jaguars, she said. I made the shape of a jaguar. No, leaner, she said. I sucked in my tummy. Good, she said. Now faster, and I tried to look faster. Now fiercer, she said. I lifted my hands and made claws. Good, she said. Now we go. We went into the night as jaguars. We went across the front lawn and into the woods at the end of the cul-de-sac. I had been in those woods many times, but I'd never been through them. As jaguars, we went through them. In the woods, we leaped into trees and scared away squirrels and birds. Don't worry, my grandmother said to them. We won't eat you. You're too small and gamey. She laughed, like great thunder, and I laughed, like lesser thunder, and we jaguared on. But when we came upon a rabbit, my grandmother caught it and ate it and offered me some. I didn't really want to eat any raw rabbit, so I told her I was allergic. My grandmother rolled her jaguar eyes, and we jaguared on. After the woods, there was a high hill, and we took it like it was nothing. At the top of the hill, we saw most of the world. We did not howl because jaguars don't howl. Jaguars jaguar, so we jaguared on. Below the hill, there was a lake, and we went to it and drank from it. That's divine, I said, because it was. Let's run across the lake, she said. Won't we fall in? I asked. Not if we're nimble, she said. So she ran nimbly, and I ran nimbly, and we bounced across like marbles on glass. On the other side of the lake, we lay down and we rested. After a few minutes, she said, let's run some more. And we ran up a ridge and over a mountain and across an ocean and kept running. We were somewhere in the Himalayas when I remembered that I had school. I should go back pretty soon, I said. My grandmother looked at me for a while through her golden jaguar eyes. We ran back quickly and fiercely and nimbly. Who knew how much school I had missed? But it was okay. My grandmother wrote me a note. Thank you for joining me for my story today.
Each year, we all make a commitment, a pledge, to support the ministry of this church. In addition to this contribution each Sunday, we take a collection so that we can share with those doing justice beyond our church community. While we are unable to come together in person, you can still share your resources. To make your contributions, you can send a text or follow prompts, and if you are in the sanctuary, you can give at the box in the back of the sanctuary. We will have the number on your screen as the music plays for the offertory. For the month of September, we are sharing our plate with YEP, Youth Empowerment Performance Project. YEP strives to create a brave environment for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex youth experiencing homelessness to explore their history, investigate new ways to address their struggles, and to celebrate their strengths through personal leadership and community development programming that incorporates different art expression forms. This morning, we will hear some words from Judy Corbet about the New Members Committee, followed by Claire Gervasi on small groups.
Short people need stools. The membership committee focuses much of its energy on welcoming new folks to church, enabling them to pursue their path to membership, and then aiding them in finding their niche in the community. In addition, during the pandemic, we've reached out to current members via snail mail to let them know they're not forgotten. We have some set tasks. You'll see us often staffing the welcome table back in the Palmer Room and behind the scenes quietly monitoring the Zoom chat. Starting next Sunday, October 3 at 11:45, we're hosting the first session of the series of 3 orientation classes. If you're interested in becoming a member or just want to learn more about the workings of Unitarian Universalism, some history of 2U, which dates back to 1857, and much more, please contact me or Tyler Dustin via email. Our addresses are in the order of service. Those classes will be here in person and also via Zoom. And if you'd like to help our committee, we are certainly looking for a few new folks. Thanks very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm joining you via Zoom. My name is Claire, and my pronouns are they, them. I am the coordinator for small group ministry, and I just wanted to say a few words to invite you all to join and participate in small group ministry. So first, just as an overview, this is what our website says about small group ministry. Small group ministry is designed to create spaces for closer connection. Along with the beauty of our collective worship each Sunday, we need spaces to practice vulnerability and engage our curiosity together. Small group ministry is a space to lift up our voices, learn with one another, and build authentic relationships. So in short, small group is exactly what it sounds like. Groups of 10 to 15 2U members each who meet monthly to discuss various spiritual and social topics. Each group is facilitated by a lovely 2U member, and we are always looking for new facilitators if you're interested. 2U offers the Soul Matters Sharing Circle curriculum as a jumping off point for our discussions, which has a monthly theme that's also echoed in Sunday services. Meetings usually last more than an hour, but less than 2 hours. And for the time being, groups remain meeting virtually, but we are planning to offer in-person groups before the end of the church year, as we are all very eager to share physical space together and lessen Zoom fatigue. My hope as coordinator of small group ministry is to provide a high impact result with only minor effort on your part, the result being a more profound sense of belonging to you. It's not meant to be a huge time commitment to participate in small group. It's not meant to be intensive study. Small group is a time to connect and deepen your relationship to self and others. And just as an example, here are a few comments from members who are currently participating in small group. Quote, small group is an intimate way to explore and examine parts of yourself in a safe environment and a great way to connect to the people of church. Also, I've really enjoyed small groups that I've participated in. They give me a chance to get to know people of all ages, many of whom I've never met before, and it allows me to get to know them in a more intimate setting. Finding out how other people think makes me want to learn more about them. So if you're interested in joining small group or you haven't yet been contacted by a facilitator for this year's small group sessions, I am going to put the contact info in the chat, or if that's not convenient for you to grab, you can always contact the 2U office and Kate can send you along to me. Thank you so much, and I look forward to growing in community with you through small group ministry.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our offertory words The words are printed in your order of service and are also on the screen. This church is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
I invite you now into the spirit of prayer and meditation. Let us start by breathing together. Take a breath in and out. We begin in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, we are with you. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty. We are with you. We pray for all those living in harm's way. We pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. We pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. for those locked in concentration camps at the border, held in cages and inhumane conditions, for those in ICE detention centers here in Chicago, we are with you and commit to doing more. For those struggling with fear and anxiety right now, we offer our prayers of comfort and care. For those who face the loss of a job, financial resources, and security right now, we offer solidarity and a commitment to share what we can. For those struggling with the impact of isolation, we promise to reach out with love. This morning, may we hold Susan Richter and her family as they mourn the loss of her son on Friday. Into this shared silence, I invite you now to speak the name of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of this community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen, and blessed be. At this time, I will light 2 candles, one representing the joys and celebrations we are experiencing, and another representing the concerns and sorrows we are holding. As we wish to return to our congregational ritual of lighting candles for our joys, concerns, and sorrows, I want to demonstrate the way the Sunday Service Committee is maintaining our safety and comfort with each other. You are invited to come up and get a candle from an usher, or have the usher light the candle for you. At the end of your time of contemplation and candle lighting, we invite you to use the hand sanitizer available so that we can all be clean and safe together in our service. At the same time, I invite our friends at the Admiral to come forward and take a pebble from the bowl. Hold it tightly, putting your energy into the stone, and then, knowing that your joys and sorrows to be shared by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. As the music continues, I invite our friends online to share your joys and concerns in our chat window. We hold all of these joys and concerns, celebrations and sorrows and struggles in our hearts. Janice will now share our first reading.
Are you coming up to the? It will work for you.
We're having some technical problems here. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me. If not, offer it up to the universe. Our first reading today is Care of the Soul, the Spiritual Imagination by Thomas More. Here is how I see the imagination playing a central role in the spiritual life. Human beings have a natural pull deep into actual life with all its complexity and challenges. It's wonderful. I call it soul. But we also have an instinct to explore and taste the mystery of it all with the highest, most ideal and sublime values. That is the spirit. But that mystery can't be defined or placed in a test tube. We approach it through images that bring us close and give us good hints about the elusive element we're searching for. The imagination, all those stories and parables and rituals, serves the spirit and gives image to the unnameable. To worship the image or confuse it with facts is to miss the very point of spiritual expression. To benefit from the spiritual insights of millennia, we need two powers. One, the capacity to make effective and powerful images. And two, the ability to grasp the thrust of those images and be transformed by them, to feel the presence of the unknown that they conjure up. Again, if you confuse the image with what you are seeking, you will not be in the realm of spirit at all. If you translate it into concepts or moral demands, you will have lost the necessary image. Working with the imagination is delicate business. Some people want nothing to do with religious and spiritual images. Others make too much of them by treating them as facts. Religious images are a means, not an end. They allow us to be in the presence of the great mystery of life. But to benefit from such powerful images, you have to take care not to make them into idols, interpret them too far, or to get stuck on only one set of images. There is a great deal to learn about the imagination, and the best way to begin might be to read one of the sacred stories as story and open yourself up to the mysterious state of mind in which the story places you. Sleep in it, live with it, talk about it, make it one of your own.
Our second reading this morning is from The Last of the Really Great Whangdoodles by Julie Andrews Edwards. Well, where is Whangdoodle Land? Lindy whispered. How do you get there? The professor spoke slowly and distinctly. There is only one possible road you can take, he said, and that is to go by way of your imagination. But that's ridiculous, Ben cried. You couldn't use your imagination to go anywhere. Tom said in a disbelieving voice, that's just impossible. No, it isn't. Nothing is impossible, replied the professor. In fact, I have a saying in my office, whatever a man imagines is possible. I've proved that 100 times in my work. Okay, then how did you do it? Challenged Tom. I had to go into training. I had to stimulate and teach my mind to become aware and open to any possibility. I was like an astronaut preparing to go to the moon. Think how long they study before they begin their journey. That's the perfect example of what I'm talking about. The professor jabbed a finger at the children. 200 years ago, who would have believed it was possible that man could get to the moon? It would have seemed just as fanciful as my saying today that I have been to Wayne Doodle Land, but man imagined going to the moon, and now it's a reality. Lindy asked a vital question. But do you suppose we could ever get to Wayne Doodle Land? Do you suppose ordinary people like us could ever see it? The professor smiled a secret smile. Yes, I believe you could, he said casually. It would mean a great deal of hard work. But you're young, and you actually stand a better chance of getting there than most adults. Your imaginations are vivid and fresh, and you haven't closed your minds to possibilities the way so many grown-ups have. Let us hear our anthem, please.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you would try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living a life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer. Oh, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and then the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. It's just a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may Oh, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and then the world will live as one.
Thank you, Devon. I now have a new favorite version of that song. So. Yesterday, as I was working on this sermon, I realized that a better title for this might have been Imagination, Not Just for Children. We often dismiss imagination as adults. It's something that our culture just doesn't value very much. We encourage it in our children and younger, but as we get older, it gets more and more less accepted, less recognized. But I think imagination is important, even essential for us to survive. It's not just about make-believe and creating new worlds. It's a skill. It's a skill we are born with to understand the world that we are living in. It creates a way to engage life, to imagine possibilities. How can we unthink what might be possible if we can't imagine it? Like in the second reading, the professor says that people imagined going to the moon and then did it. But that was not imagined that it could actually happen years before. And there's so many things that have occurred, created, developed because someone imagined it. And although I can talk about imagination in so many ways, I want to focus today on the spiritual. Because imagination can be key to a spiritual life. So when I talk about spiritual and spirituality, I'm particularly focusing on how it helps us understand 3 areas of our lives. First is the soul, which I am talking about how we connect to something larger than ourselves. The second is our heart, how we are connect with others. And then the third is the body, how we engage the world. So spiritual imagination of the soul is about how we can imagine this connection to something larger to ourselves, and that could be however you define it. God, goddess, love, the goodness of humanity. But it's how we see the universe and our role in that. And there's often so much that is not clearly understood. We can't often, our brains don't always wrap itself clearly around the largeness of everything, the largeness of the universe. And that imagination can give us maybe a kind of a look, kind of a glimpse of what it may be, or at least be able to frame it in language or understanding that makes our brains work a little easier, helps us understand the world more. In our first reading, Thomas More says that the imagination all the stories, the parables, and rituals serves the spirit and gives image to the unnameable. All the stories that we know about spiritual nature, all of those are our way of understanding the unknowable. If you think about concepts of God and love and goodness, those are really broad, and we all have different ways of engaging in understanding. And yet, our imaginations can create stories and rituals and parables and tales, all these ways to use image and description to make it a little bit more manageable, make it something relatable, something that takes this big idea and bring it into something a little closer, something more that we can deeply engage with. Imagination helps us engage in all the depth of the world. It helps us have faith. And faith is something that is really hard to hold on to. But I think of faith as that grounding, that kind of rope that you hold on to get through a maze or the complexity, which basically is life. It's that thing that holds us together. But sometimes faith is hard, and we need our imagination to help us remember that there is a way forward. In the Bible, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, it says, "Because we look not at what can be seen, but what it cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal." This verse is talking about there's more than what is actually there in front of us. And our imagination is the key to that which is underneath. When we talk about things like the inherent worth and dignity of every person, that's something that is kind of broad and is not tangible, and yet it's something as Unitarian Universalists we talk about and strive for all the time. Or the image of that interconnected web of life. That's not something that we actually go and take pictures of every day. But it is something that we hold dear and that we believe in, and that is our imagination helps us see what that web could look like. Even spreading here in this congregation that's connecting us virtually to those online and at the Admiral, we can use our imagination to all be together in this space, even though physically we are not here. Second, I want to talk about the spiritual imagination of the heart. We are beings that feel. We feel things, and we may differ in our ability to access our feelings, but they're such a part of what it means to be human. And it's amazing how so many things can trigger different feelings. Not just the things that someone says or a phrase in a book, a picture on TV. Reverend James Love says, "Everything is only imagination. That is, there is no world prior to our image of what ought to be the world. We cannot live without a dozen of mental images of things not present to the senses. Daily black marks on a page move me to deep emotion. Just words, just images. But such images make the world. Imagination is reality. Imagination is reality. So much that's in this world is part of what we have created it to be. We have interpreted that these are purple flowers. We have created that and defined that in our mind, and that these is yellow. And yet it could have been either way. We have imagined the meanings behind the words that I have on my tablet here that I am speaking. All those letters we have created and imagined that this is what language is. Or the meanings of every picture, the meanings of the anvil that we have as our chalice. All those things that we imagined what it could be to represent something deeper, more than just an anvil or a color or words. And imagination, to me, is key to empathy, the ways that we can connect with what others are feeling. We can never fully, truly understand exactly what another person feels. It's impossible to know. But our imagination can give us at least a tiptoe into that space to sense and feel and be able to empathize in a way that we can connect and show compassion and love. Finally, spiritual imagination of the body. Our bodies, how we engage the world. And it can be simple as our spiritual practice. And we can engage in practices like visualizations that allow us to imagine what we want to see in the world, that maybe that helps us manifest that. And so the practice of visualizations, many people use that as ways to bring about their goals or to bring about the world they wish to see, or to bring peace and calm in a time that is not feeling very peaceful at all. Or using affirmations on a daily basis to help build in us the qualities and skills we want to develop in ourselves. We imagine those not as things that could be, but as they are, so that it cements itself in our body. But imagination also helps us find hope in the world. It's so hard to think about what can be possible in this difficult, sometimes disappointing world without imagining what could be. As we talk about the beloved community, and we imagine what that would look like. Because if we can't imagine beloved community, there's no way that we're going to get there. We can't have a better world if we don't even know what that better world will be. And our imagination helps us see that. And then we can move forward in ways to shift and change ourselves and our communities to live into that. As Paul in the play 6 Degrees of Separation says, I believe that imagination is the passport that we create to help take us into the real world. I believe that imagination is merely another phrase for that which is most uniquely us. The imagination is not our escape. On the contrary, the imagination is the place that we are trying to get to. As we imagine the world as it could be, it brings it into reality. We put all the things into place to make that the world that we live in, and not the world that we are struggling against. It helps us move towards change and transformation. Imagination is a skill to be reclaimed. We need to reconnect to our childhood abilities. And like the professor in the second reading say, we've got to train them because we've unlearned so much of using our imagination. So we need to retrain ourselves. Read books without pictures and imagine the worlds that they are living in. Take a moment to Imagine what the world could be, or imagine what you might want to be, who you want to be, and allow that to more fully creep into your body. Find all ways to explore, play, imagine. Cultivate it as a spiritual practice, as a living practice. In doing so, imagination can help ground our faith, strengthen our empathy, and empower our hope. May we find ourselves in our imagination more and more each day. Blessed be.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 346. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home, and hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
I invite you to cross your hands over your heart and hear these words of benediction. Connect with your imagination. Let your spirit soar among the interconnected web. Share your heart with another and savor its sweetness. Embody the beloved community with the whole of your being, and let it radiate out from you like the sun. Imagine, imagine, imagine. Blessed be. Go in peace.